special is live and rolling. I'm Rachel Nichols, joined by Stephen A. Smith, Matt Barnes. We've got Kendrick Perkins waiting for us as well over there in Houston. Hey, Perk, we're going to have a slew of guests stopping by throughout the show, including, of course, Adrian Wojnarowski in just a minute or two. Now, you just watched a recap of how free agency has gone in the past, guys. And if you've watched this show over the years, you know about the trade crank. So if something happens, we got a little bit of adjustment. I do want to make a point here before I pull it. We have a little bit of adjustment because of COVID. We're still all trying to be safe. We can't shoot all that smoke into the air and have all of our little particles moving around. So we've reached a compromise here. Let's take a look. It's virtual. Let's take a look. Here we go. When we hear a trade, we'll do this. There we go. Yeah. Not bad. Still got it.
That's not bad.
Got it. We all make adjustmants with COVID.
Production, whoever took her power away, because she was getting out of hand with that thing in previous years, scaring everybody. So thank you, whoever virtualized it.
I do want to give Matt credit, by the way, because when we were setting up for the show, I said, now we won't have the actual smoke here in the studio. Mm-hmm. He said, I can provide some extra smoke if you would like. So, you know.
It works. It works.
Matt, we'll hold off on your kind of smoke just for now. But Stephen A. is obviously very happy we're not showering him with CO2.
Thank you very much.
There we go. All right. Here's what we know so far. I just want to bring you up to date. Zach LaVine said he, quote, just wants his respect when it comes to a potential new deal, an extension with the Bulls as he enters the last season of his 4-year, $78 million contract with Chicago. Brian Windhorst is going to join us later to discuss that. And as first reported by Yahoo Sports, Kawhi Leonard has opted out of his contract. He is now officially a free agent. Now, this is very different from a couple of years ago. Remember, this time, Kawhi recovering from ACL surgery, an injury that kept him out of the Western Conference Finals, could keep him out for a chunk or all of next season. Woj also reporting the Phoenix Suns optimistic they can come to terms with Chris Paul after he chose to opt out of his final year of his contract. Should re-sign in Phoenix as the Heat picked up Goran Dragic's option. That was for more than $19 million. Now, according to Woj, there is a very important reason for that. They intend to use that cap hold as part of a sign and trade deal to try to grab Raptors point guard Kyle Lowry as they position themselves to be the front runners in the Lowry sweepstakes. So, guys, look, it is a lot going on. To join us and discuss all the storylines, our senior insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Welcome back, Woj. This is a huge day for you. I know you're going to be on your phone most of the afternoon. What is the very latest on the Kyle Lowry situation?
Well, Rachel, I think everything's in place when we hit 6 o'clock Eastern to get moving on a Kyle Lowry deal to the Miami Heat. Goran Dragic, Precious Achiuwa, their first-round pick in Miami last year, a really good young player out of Memphis who I'm told would be part of the Heat's package to the Raptors to try to get the kind of sign and trade offer that would entice the Raptors into helping Kyle Lowry get to the Heat. They don't have the cap space to sign him, but if you incentivize the deal enough with Toronto, I think there's a pathway to a deal, and certainly the motivation for Kyle Lowry to get to Miami to join Jimmy Butler, his good friend, a player who really fits the Heat identity and certainly fits their timeline of win now. So I think everything's in place for Kyle Lowry to be a member of the Miami Heat, perhaps as early as tonight.
Interesting. And look, we were saying when Kyle Lowry was not dealt at the trade deadline, wow, does this mean he's going to leave Toronto for nothing? If they can work out a sign and trade with the Raptors, however, then he won't be leaving, quote, for nothing. So Masai Ujiri coming out with something on that deal, again, like Masai often does. I want to move on to Kawhi Leonard. He also opted out of his deal. Does it appear he will be back with the Clippers? Because one thing we were thinking was maybe he would keep this year and then just work out an extension. Instead, he did do the opt-out.
He did, and I think it's some contractual gymnastics. Listen, he can do any number of things with his deal. He could do a 1+1. He can do a longer deal. He's going to spend this year rehabbing most of the season, if not all of it, coming off that ACL surgery. But the expectation is that he will return to the Clippers. The kind of contract it'll be is unclear, but I think that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers, certainly the Clippers are proceeding as though he will be back, and how they're planning to handle free agency, handle their cap, knowing that they're going to be minus him this year, but the expectation is he certainly returns at full strength the following year. And who knows, maybe there's a way he can return late in the season in LA.
Well, look, they were very competitive all the way up through the middle of the Western Conference Finals without him, so that has got to give them some good feelings going in there. It's so interesting. We played the clip at the top of the show. It was your voice, Woj, talking about how after he left Toronto, we were in the helicopter car chase part of Kawhi's free agency. None of that this season. Just shows you how fast things move in this league. Yeah. Chris Paul, another huge name. He opted out of his player option for that last year. Does his future still, though, appear to be in Phoenix?
It does, Rachel, and I think both the Suns and Chris Paul are really motivated to get a deal done tonight. They can do a long-term deal, perhaps 3 years. Moving forward, he'll be 37 years old next year in the playoffs, but you saw the high level Chris Paul was still playing at this year, just like Kyle Lowry, mid-30 point guards who are playing, at all-star level later and later into their careers. But I think that the motivation is there, the desire for the Suns and Chris Paul to get a deal done. I believe they will.
And it's interesting, we've talked about some of the players, but there's teams still who are going to have some cap room today, too, whether it's New Orleans, right, the New York Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks just cleared some space. Do we expect any smaller deals with those teams, or do you think that's going to be more in the next few days?
Well, I think you'll see a flurry of action tonight. Certainly the Knicks, they want to keep their own free agents. Nerlens Noel, Alex Burks, Derrick Rose, all players I think they'd like to keep there. If Goran Dragic ends up in Toronto, whether it's a trade or an eventual buyout, I think there'll be a lot of interest in Dallas. Remember, he is really, his relationship with Luka Doncic, both from Slovenia. I think Dragic was really a mentor to him. They share the same agent, Bill Duffy. So I think there's certainly maybe a pathway for Dragic if this sign and trade does go through with Toronto. Either they trade him, and certainly there's other teams who have point guard needs who are going to have great interest in Goran Dragic. So I think that's something that plays out here over a period of time.
Certainly a point guard kind of feel to this week. Woj, thanks so much. We will be following your Twitter account with bated breath, and we will see and hear from you throughout the day. All right, guys, I want to talk more about Kyle Lowry. He is looking, as Woj says, like he might be a member of the Miami Heat. So, Steven, what do you think that fit is with Miami, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo down there?
I'm not moved.
Really?
I'm not moved. I just have to be honest with you. I'm a fan of Kyle Lowry. He's a champion. Averaged 17 points a game last year, can shoot in the mid-30% from three-point range. He's definitely an upgrade, as far as I'm concerned, from a Goran Dragic, from a Kendrick Nunn, who I think's got a lot of promise. I get all of that. Here's the problem. When we last saw you, what happened to you? You got swept. Who was that by? That was by the Milwaukee Bucks. That's not going to be the difference. And that's where I'm coming from. When I think about Kyle Lowry, if he were with the Philadelphia 76ers, because you've got Embiid, if you were able to keep Ben Simmons while you still have him, the Tobias Harris's of the world, and stuff like that, and he was added to that mix. His experience, his poise, his defensive tenacity, his fervor, he's from that area. I covered them. I actually covered them when I was right for the Philadelphia Inquirer. This dude is a special player, no mistake about it. But in Miami, as they're presently constructed, I don't see him making that big of a deal in terms of, just basically changing the course of their future in that regard. I don't see it.
I definitely think this is an upgrade, and I agree. I still think if they're going to be contenders, they're going to find another piece. And I also think, after hearing Woj speak, they're going to have to throw some more people in that pot. I don't know if Goran Dragic and their rookie from last year is going to be enough to entice Toronto. So they might have to throw one of their shooters in, which I'm sure they don't want to do. But I agree. Kyle Lowry, 35, still very solid, can still production, a great on-the-floor leader, and which they need sometimes outside of Jimmy Butler. It's a good fit, but I still feel, the East is with Brooklyn being strong, Milwaukee the defending champs. Kyle Lowry is going to be one piece to another piece that they're going to need to really contend in the Eastern Conference.
Now, Perk, I know you're always hot on those goons from Miami, as you like to call them. Do you agree with Stephen A. that this isn't quite going to get it done, or do you think maybe this could make them make a stab in the East and be coming out of the East?
I respectfully disagree with Stephen A. And I'm going to say this why. Because one of the most important positions in the NBA is the point guard position. And you're right. He's a huge upgrade from Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic. And look, Kyle Lowry is one of the best floor generals in the game today. You have guys like Rajon Rondo, Chris Paul, LeBron James, and Kyle Lowry falls right in that category. Kyle Lowry is going to take pressure away from Jimmy Butler. Now Jimmy Butler don't have to worry about getting others involved and facilitating. He takes that load off where Jimmy only have to worry about getting buckets. And Kyle Lowry has that type of tenacity and that type of spirit where it rubs off on everyone. We saw at times throughout this postseason where Bam went missing, right? And there's only so much you could do as a coach with Eric Spoelstra being on the sideline for us, firing up your guys to bring back that energy, that tenacity. Well, Kyle Lowry is that guy. When you step on the floor with him at any given time, you feel like you have an opportunity to win the game because he's one of the most ultimate competitors that we have in the game today. So I do feel like if Kyle Lowry being added to the Heat as of what they are with Bam and Jimmy Butler, it makes them a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference, hands down.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, I want to tell you something, Rachel and Matt, that, you know, Kendrick Perkins has been doing a marvelous job all year covering the NBA. And what you have to understand about Kendrick Perkins is that he's gotten slick. He's gotten very, very slick. He's learned to get very, very slick. Let me tell you why. I don't recall Matt Barnes saying it was a downgrade. I certainly didn't say it was a downgrade. Matter of fact, we all agree it's an upgrade. What I said is that that's not going to make the difference when you look at the Eastern Conference. In other words, instead of getting swept like they did, you might lose in 6. You might lose in 5 or 6.
You don't think that gives them a round or two?
I don't. No, I'm saying it against that level of competition. Okay. That's what I'm talking about, specifically against the competition.
Okay.
And then we take into account what Kyle Lowry did. They were in Toronto before Kawhi Leonard arrived, okay? Yeah. And they were winning 58, 59 games, and they were capturing the #1 seed and stuff like that. Yeah. But you know something? DeMar DeRozan, who can ball, who was no scrub, he wasn't any Kawhi Leonard. And once Kawhi Leonard arrived, it's a difference. Why? Because you're 6'8", you're built like a chiseled brick house. You can get to the hole. You got a perimeter shot. You can do a lot of things. And Kyle Lowry's poise, his veteran leadership, his perimeter shooting, his ability to draw offensive fouls became more pronounced because of who you had with you. He ain't going to have that with him in Miami. That's the problem.
Well, go ahead, Burke.
Oh, well, you see how Stephen A. telling the world that I tend to get slick. He also do the same thing, and I catch him in ways as well, right? So think about this. You want to know what happened to the Toronto Raptors when Kyle Lowry and DeRozan were winning those games and having the best record in the Eastern Conference? They ran into LeBron James. They ran into LeBron James, and they ran into a hungry LeBron James that wasn't going to be denied because he wanted to deliver a championship to Cleveland. All I'm saying is that I'm not picking the Heat to come out of the Eastern Conference. I'm saying that they are a threat when you add Kyle Lowry. And I also think that Jimmy Butler and Bam last year, they just looked tired and defeated from the long playoff run that they had the year before, going to the finals, and then coming back and having the season that they had.
And I'm saying now they they'd run into a person that I watched you this morning remind the world is now the face of the NBA.
Are we talking Giannis?
Yeah. That was Kendrick Perkins' words, not mine, because I don't agree with that.
That's where I was going to go next. And by the way, we'll talk later in the show because Giannis chimed in on whether he's the face of the NBA or not, so we'll get to that. But it is interesting in the East. You've got, of course, the defending champions. Respect to them, and certainly Giannis wants more than one. He's already talked about that. You've got Philadelphia, which is going to make a serious effort to retool. We know that they're shopping Ben Simmons. We don't know who they're going to come back with. You've got the Brooklyn Nets. I almost said New Jersey, Stephen. I had to catch myself, but we spent so much time in that Northeast corridor. The Brooklyn Nets, who of course are returning their big three and feel that they are contenders for the title. Miami trying to nose its way in there. So much, though, in this free agency period can depend on Kyle Lowry, even if, as you say, the balance of power isn't shifting as much. Bobby Marks made this chart, which was amazing. This was in a conference room in Bristol that he made for himself. And he was just like, from Kyle Lowry all of these things flow. So we won't really know what the balance of power is even until Kyle Lowry, even if he signs with Miami as we expect, if that sign and trade works out as we expect, there's all these other dominoes that Bobby thinks they're going to fall. That will also tell us who is going to be positioned where. That's why this week and today is so exciting, guys, because the whole league can change. Just wait a few minutes. We'll be back for you right here on the show. We've got 5 hours of free agency talk coming up. Right now, we're going to talk expectations for the Knicks in free agency. You got Stephen A. Matt. We've got to be able to talk Knicks, right, in this segment. First, though, time for our distant replay, free agency 96. Shaq to the Lakers. Matt Barnes, I know you remember this moment. Carmelo Anthony is also a free agent. Now, rumors have him linked to a number of franchises, one of them being the New York Knicks, who, of course, he played with from 2011 to 2017. Stephen A., would you like to see Knicks and Melo reunion?
No, because the New York Knicks are not in a position where they're going to win a championship, and I love Carmelo Anthony. And as much as I love my New York Knicks, it is that time. The Banana Boat crew. LeBron's got 4. D-Wade's got 3. Chris Paul was just in the finals. There's one guy of the crew that's never played in the NBA Finals. That's LeBron. That's Carmelo Anthony. I want Carmelo Anthony in L.A. with LeBron.
Yeah, I think he needs a chance to win. You know, who knows how much time he has left. And for every reason he just mentioned, I would love to see him go out with the ring.
Do you feel like that makes them more of a contender if Melo joins L.A.?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because they need shooters.
Right.
And he shot 40% for three-point range.
They certainly
Good problem
do.
to have.
Yeah, just in case anyone forgot, Melo still got it. Just saying. We'll be back in just a minute. Stick with us.
How do you make a...
I'm Rachel Nichols. Here on set with me, the one and only Stephen A. Smith, Mr. Matt Barnes, NBA champ, and another NBA champ joining us from Houston, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. And guys, we got to talk Knicks while Stephen A. is still with them. So what do you expect from them in this free agency campaign?
Well, a couple of things. I think they should consider Spencer Dinwiddie.
Okay.
I think that's somebody that they should consider. He can ball. He's coming off an injured season. Remember, he only played 3 games last year, but the year before he averaged 20 and 6. We can't forget that. He can ball, and obviously he's looking for a better situation than he would have in Brooklyn because the big 3 is there. Secondly, do not give, and I don't like messing with people's money. I truly, truly do not. I want everybody to get paid.
Yep.
But Julius Randle is not a number 1 option.
Okay.
You want to give him a max, but it can't be an exorbitant max. The max now at about 106 to 110, that's where he got to be. About 25, 28 million a year. That's about right, okay? So let's make sure we do that. Outside of that, all you could do is pray, man. I mean, listen. Mitchell Robinson's coming back. Listen, Mitchell Robinson is going to be back. You got to re-up him. You got to re-up Julius Randle. If you can pull it off, you go out there and you get somebody like a Spencer Dinwiddie. You retain Derrick Rose.
Yeah, okay.
You retain Derrick Rose. And the only way you throw everything out is if Damian Lillard says, I want out of Portland, because I'm here to tell you. If Damian Lillard wants out of Portland, and I'm not sure he does yet, his number 1 choice is going to be the New York Knicks.
Ooh. Really?
Heard it right here.
Ooh, inside scoop.
His number 1 choice is going to be the New York Knicks. Now, not over Portland. He's trying to stay there if it can work out. But if he decides to leave, I'm betting the house. It's the New York Knicks that he'll want to go to. Now, if you're the New York Knicks.
Couple houses.
Where's the camera?
Steve, there you go.
Leon Rose, Worldwide West, William Wesley, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to hear cap space and picks. You give Portland what the hell they asked for if Damian Lillard is available to come. And I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if he's going to demand that. I don't know if Neil O'Shea is going to capitulate.
Right.
But if that possibility is there, Leon Rose, Worldwide West, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau, you do what you got to do to get Damian.
Well, I'm going to ask you one question about, though, because your New York Knicks gave up a lot of the farm for Carmelo Anthony, remember, when it's possible they could have gotten him down the road in free agency, but they wanted to make sure they got him, and they gave up assets for him, and it made it a little harder for them and Melo to win.
Right.
So do you think that they should do the same if a Damian Lillard deal
But remember,
comes along?
one of the problems that they existed, they didn't have That's what happened. This particular situation, yeah, you're going to have to give up a lot to get a Damian Lillard if it comes to that, and I'm not sure it will. But, my Lord, at 31, 32 years of age, the closing ability, nobody has hit more clutch shots. a point guard who can shoot like that in today's NBA game at Madison Square Garden? No, you do that. You do that.
Well, I don't want to take you off the Damian Lillard train, but I have to say, assuming that doesn't happen today.
No, it's not going to happen.
Or in the next couple days, what do you think about him saying, don't give the farm to Julius Randle?
Dame time in the Garden could be incredible.
It's hard to not think about that.
You know what's weird to me? I like Julius Randle. I agree. I think he's a great A-, maybe second option. And that's with all due respect. What's crazy to me is, this team hasn't been very good for such a long time. And in previous years, you always hear a bunch of people, okay, we're going to go to the Knicks. Now that they've actually made the playoffs and starting to head in the right direction with Tom Thibodeau, you don't hear any stars trying to get to New York, so that's kind of interesting to me. But I think this may be a situation where they're going to have to get second-tier free agents, the second wave of free agents of Spencer Dinwiddie, some of these guys, and build with small pieces and continue to compete until maybe something happens where a superstar does want to come. So I don't really see a superstar making that jump outside of Dame. Stephen A's betting all his houses on it. But outside of that, like I said, I think it's going to be small pieces here and there, nothing that's really going to, make a huge splash, but small pieces continue to get better until to that one moment where they can go get a superstar.
We 100% agree. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You do those things.
Yeah, but you're just saying
if Dame, I'm not saying Damian Lillard's going to want to leave Portland. But if he wants to leave Portland, it's going to be the Knicks. And by the way, who ain't coming to New York to play with Damian
Absolutely.
Lillard?
I mean,
Who ain't coming to New York to play with Damian Lillard? I ain't going to mention any names yet. But let me tell you something. I got about 5 of them. Who ain't going to come to New York to play with Damian Lillard?
It'll take that one domino, though. It'll take that first
I'm getting a little sweaty right now because I'm getting all excited. Oh, my Lord. Oh.
Can you feel, Stephen A., all the way from Houston, just this mere possibility of maybe, possibly?
Hey, Perk, that shirt brings your eyes out, by the way.
Well, Rachel, look,
Yeah, those eyebrows. Yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
Don't let the man talk about basketball.
Well, actually,
it's true, man. It's true.
Look. I'm telling you. Listen to this though. Damian Lillard to the Knicks helped the Knicks and the New York Knicks fan base, but it don't help Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard should be trying to go somewhere that could help him actually win a title. Now, Damian Lillard in Madison Square Garden, I agree, Stephen A. and Matt, is must-see TV. But when you talk about the New York Knicks, right? You got Julius Randle, you have Derrick Rose, you have R.J. Barrett, and I agree with your point, Stephen A. Add a Spencer Dinwiddie, or maybe add a DeMar DeRozan to the mix. You continue to have your player development. You go get a Spencer Dinwiddie, a guy that actually could play off the ball, that you could play alongside Derrick Rose because he's a big guard, right? So he's a combo guard that can space the floor. He's great moving off the ball. He's a great defender, so he fits the culture of the New York Knicks. I just don't know if I'm a Knicks, if I'm in the front office of the New York Knicks, I give up so much to get Dame Lillard. And then what if you don't hit a home run and attract more superstars? Now you done gave up a lot of your young pieces to get Dame Lillard when he's standing in Madison Square Garden by himself with just you and Spike Lee.
I feel you on that, but let's pump the brakes here for a second.
I was going to say, the poor Portland fans are like, he hasn't gone anywhere yet. He hasn't asked for a trade.
I understand that, and I totally get it, but we're allowed to fantasize. We're allowed to fantasize. We in Tinseltown. This is Land's Dreams. Okay, that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here, okay? And what I'm saying to you is this. Let's put the Knicks in its proper perspective.
Okay.
When you talk about young pieces, yeah, R.J. Barrett can ball, but he's not ambidextrous. Julius Randle could ball, but he's not ambidextrous. You had the Atlanta Hawks screaming, they're going left.
Yes.
They're going left. And where did they go? Left. Every time. So let's not act like the New York Knicks have stuff you simply can't give up. Oh, my God, you can't afford to do it. Certainly, if you can't get a mega star, then you build with what you have. But we also got to understand Brooklyn's right in town, all right? Less than 10 miles away. They got a big three. We all know if Kyrie Irving was healthy, okay, something different might have happened, all right? So we understand that. And if you're the New York Knicks and you could put yourself in a position to compete box office-wise in terms of attracting folks, That's something you can't ignore.
Well, look, we saw the crowds outside the Garden with this lineup, with the group that they had. So I think the people of New York, and Stephen A., you know better than me, they are just waiting. They are waiting for a competitive team. And the fact that they made the playoffs.
Why don't you tell the truth, Rachel? You've been laughing at me for years.
I know.
You and Will Bond have been laughing at me for years because of my Nick, how my Nick fandom.
I would say that we've been laughing near you, not at you. And
it's okay.
The laughter has been at the way the organization had been run, which I know you agree with me on, and that how it has been run so much better. Before we let you go, and Stephen A., I know you have to bolt, but campaign is another name that I've heard, and obviously had a bit of a revival in Phoenix.
I like campaign.
If it turns out that way.
I will tell you that he disappeared after game 2 against the Clippers when he dropped 37. Okay, I'm 29. I'm sorry, 29 and 9 and 37 minutes. He wasn't that person the rest of the playoffs, but he can play. I like his aggression. I like his passion. I like the counseling that he's received from CP3. My personal preference would be, however, a Spencer Dinwiddie. You know, over that.
It's going to be small pieces. Like you're going to have to crawl before you can walk in this situation.
We've been crawling for
a long time.
Almost 50 years. I do know that, right?
But you guys are going to get up and run one of these days. But like I say, it's going to be small pieces until you get your chance for that.
It's almost a half century we've been crawling. I'm just saying, y'all. I'm just saying. Have some compassion. Can I dream? I'm dreaming.
Today, all your dreams are available, Stephen A. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here, as always. Everyone else, stick with us. Coming up, how shocked would you be if Kawhi Leonard actually left the Clippers? That is on the table, too, today. We will discuss that next in the Jump's free agency special. 5 hours, people.
By Kia.
Welcome back to the Jump. Look who arrived here with us, Matt Barnes. It's Zach Lowe sitting in now. And Zach, I know that in the past you've had some experiences with my precious little crank here with the smoke going and the whole thing. Are you ready for today?
You're petting that like Mr. Bigglesworth in Austin Powers.
It's very exciting for me. I love this little thing.
Looks like a telegraph machine up close. It looks like it's going to start spitting out Morse code.
It slices, it dices, it does whatever. Now, usually we have the big plumes of smoke in the studio. We're not allowed to do that still because of COVID. But I do have some, I got an option here in case there's a big news coming up before 6 o'clock. You will hear, boom. Yeah, virtual smoke. This is better. Matt likes this much better.
Not bad.
It's not bad, right? It still gets the job done. We're all making changes during coronavirus here. Another change here, Kawhi Leonard opted out of his contract. Now, Zach, we had a bunch of options for him we were talking about leading into this week, but a lot of them involved him not opting out and just extending with the Clippers. The fact that he did opt out, how shocked would you be if he decided to actually leave and go somewhere else because he is now a complete unrestricted free agent?
How shocked? What's the shock scale? Like
0 to 10?
10 being really shocked. Shocked! Like my shocked face would be like that. Really
so like
shocked.
12?
Look, Kawhi has this, there's this like information vacuum that happens with Kawhi, right? Because he's so mysterious, he doesn't say anything. His confidants are very, tight-lipped and whatever. So rumors sprout up. I haven't heard one credible, actionable thing to suggest he's leaving. So I'm just assuming in the absence of that he's going to stay. And I would be very, very shocked if he left, which is great news for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think this is just optics and a strong arm business move. You're coming off an ACL surgery. You're going to sign he's going to want money.
Yep.
You want to be secure. But I definitely don't see Kawhi going anywhere. And knowing Kawhi in his past, how he waits until he's 100% healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he sat out the entire season to make sure that he's completely healthy for the 2023 or the 23 season. So.
Well, look, we just saw what happened to Klay Thompson, right? He had an ACL injury, and Klay wants to come back. Well, he was at a rec league right here in L.A. He was just working out. I don't know if it wasn't actually LA Fitness. It felt like LA Fitness. And, that's where he messed up the Achilles. So you do want to be careful about that. Our friend Clipper Darrell, who has been watching, saw us tease this topic prior to the break, does not like us to talk about Kawhi leaving. Tweeted over there, do not put that into the atmosphere. Again, I hope, Clipper Darrell, you feel better now that you've heard Zach and Matt say they don't think it is going to happen. But it is interesting, Matt, Kawhi looking at a range of options here because he's unrestricted at this point. He could sign for any length of time with the Clippers, and the Clippers have to judge, too, how much they want to have Kawhi on their books for. What do you think is the smart move here, considering his injury history?
It's tough. It's a tough call in the Clippers' hand, and fortunately, I think it's going to be in what Kawhi wants to do. I mean, obviously, the Clippers are going to want to do what's more strategic for them and their cap space moving forward, but it's really going to be what Kawhi wants to do. So is he going to go the LeBron route, the 1+1, or those situations? But again, someone with an injury-filled past, and he's not getting any younger. So, obviously an ACL is a major industry. Normally when you come back, you have a few tweaks and pulls when you first come back. So you want to err on the side of caution. But again, he's a top 5 player in this league, and he's going to do what he wants. But as long as he stays with the Clippers, I'm sure their fan base is going to be really happy.
I want to bring Jackie McMullen in on that as well. Jackie, welcome. We're so thrilled to have you here. What do you think is the best move? Because Kawhi, if he does re-sign with the Clippers, we assume he's going to be pushing for 4 or 5 years. Do you feel that, look, they traded so much to get him and Paul George there, they're going to have to just do whatever he wants? Or do you feel there can be some bargaining here in years or sort of salary there?
Rachel, this is no time to bail on Kawhi Leonard, and I think the Clippers know that. As you said, the King's ransom that they paid to get both him and Paul George aboard, and when he's healthy, he's a game changer.
Sure.
And he's a 2-time champion with 2 different teams. And the Clippers have done, from their end, everything you could possibly want if you're Kawhi Leonard. They've let him bring in his own health professionals. They'd have let him commute from San Diego at certain points. They have let him not answer to the media last season when he was rehabbing his knee and had some issues there. So the Clippers have held up their end. And now Kawhi, I think he's going to hold up his end. It's unfinished business there for both of them. They've got to come to an agreement. I think both sides understand that. God bless America, though, that you can opt out of a $36 million contract with a torn ACL and know you're going to make more money on a multi-year deal.
I mean,
wow.
It's incredible. And there's players we've seen like this. Kevin Durant, of course, had the Achilles injury and signed that max deal. And Kawhi Leonard, if anyone had any questions, and they should not have, of his worth, what he did for the Clippers at certain points during this playoffs, Ooh. I mean, Zach, it was just overwhelming at times, right?
Seems like a long time ago, but some of those games against Dallas were all-time games. That's why you get Kawhi Leonard. That's why he's going to get all the money.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break here. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about Warriors owner Joe Lacob. He told us, guys, quote, it was very unlikely that they make a big trade, but they do have that Steph Curry extension status looming. Do they need to make some sort of move to keep him? This is getting interesting up in Golden State. We'll discuss right after this.